Hello, I'm Rob Hallam and welcome to Car File. Now this week's programme is another one of our showcase specials and we're featuring the latest models to come from Saab. Now over the years Saab have produced many different shapes and sizes of cars but have always seemed to number them with a 9. I don't know why, perhaps it's a lucky number in Sweden, but one thing that's for sure, what the Swedes lack in pop music prowess, they do make up for in car design. So on to this week's show. Well, in part 1 we've got reports on the 9.3 and that awesome 9.5 Griffin. And in part 2, we've got 2 differing reviews on the 9.5 Estate from Richard Hammond and Elisa Portelli.
Now Saab have long had a tradition of making superb vehicles. They haven't used turbochargers in their cars for nothing. Not content with the current 9.3 turbocharged range, they've upped the stakes considerably with this, the new Saab 9.3 Viggen. And what better place to try it than on the streets of Monaco in the weeks leading up to the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, the name Viggen means nothing to me, as it probably doesn't do to you, but its roots are in Saab aviation. This is Saab's fastest ever production car. The current 9.3 turbo is no slouch at the moment. It does 0 to 60 in just over 7 seconds with a top speed of 140 miles per hour. So the Viggen is going to have to be quick, and it is. Under the bonnet is a 2.3 litre turbocharged engine which produces 225 brake horsepower. But most importantly, it has 252 pounds-feet of torque to give excellent mid-range acceleration. And that's something that Saab are very keen to stress. Give the car usable performance rather than a fast 0 to 60 time, which it also has in about 6.5 seconds and a top speed of limited 155 miles per hour. Plus, you can accelerate between 40 and 70 as fast as a 911. The Viggen has been produced in cooperation with TWR and is the ultimate performance Saab. Around 2,500 Viggens will be produced each year. 500 of those will make it to the UK, so it's going to be an exclusive Saab. Prices, well, they start at £31,000 for the coupe, 3-door, 31.5 for the 5-door, and 36,500 for the convertible, a premium of about 3,500 on the existing 9.3 range. The Viggen comes in a choice of 4 colours. You can have blue, silver, black or yellow, plus some new interior colours too. You get sports seats, you get pretty much everything as standard: climate control, electric seats and windows, and a quality audio system. So, this is Monaco, the Grand Prix circuit. The cars will come through the tunnel, down the hill, into the harbour area and around the swimming pool complex here. Now, in the short time that we've had to drive the Viggen, we haven't really had a chance to unleash its full potential. Safe to say, though, it is a really good car. It's a car that's almost carved out a niche for itself in the market. There's no direct rival. Perhaps the BMW 328 comes closest. It could be a poor man's M3. Saab expect existing 9.3 owners to be the main buyers for the Viggen. They demanded the car, and now they've got it.
I thought I was here for a standard road test, but apparently I've been headhunted for CI5. The producer recruits TV presenters. I've signed my work experience papers and I'm raring to get spying. I'm not really suitably attired for this lark. That's more suitable. All I need now is Jane Seymour on my arm and a good car. Mercedes, Benz, BMW, Audi. Too Blofeld for me. Aston Martin, Ferrari. All these footballers have them. Or something perhaps a little more subtle. Hallelujah. Blimey, folks. This is their third new model in a year. Not used to this from Saab. Looks like any 9.5 with new wheels. There's the giveaway. Subtle enough for you? Glad to see that this Griffin badge is not on the boot. That'll fox a few hasslers. Nice one, Saab. 9.5? I'm not a number! I'm a free man! Got the KGB list of pool cars here. Mercedes-Benz E-Class, BMW 528 ISE, Audi 2.8 Quattro. They're all making a rather large statement to the world. Too noticeable. That's why I've chosen the Saab. That's why I'm working for Uncle and not the KGB. This Saab's got a brilliant engine, 3-litre V6, 24 valve, 200 brake horsepower, plenty of power for those good car chasers. Makes a lovely noise as well. Very comfy leather seats, heated as well, perfect for those covert operations up in deepest Russia. Brilliant gearbox, 3 mode settings, normal, sport and winter. Perfect for any mission in any part of the world. This Saab's got all the toys that a man in my position would expect to find. Air conditioning, traction control, heated seats, as I mentioned earlier, and cruise control, but in fact it doubles up as a missile launcher. Nobody would know though, except me of course, and the chaps back at base. This is definitely the car for me. Nobody's noticed me at all. Perfect for this spying game. Thrash will never spot me in this. Don't like this vulgar American grille. That won't interest the ladies. But it does shoot a huge jet of acid and an escape hatch. This is the first production car with fan-assisted seats. But if you set it to the 4th setting, you'll send your adversary straight through the sunroof. Clever, eh? But what do you do when you've been shot at from the side? Bulletproof sun visor. And if you've been shot at from the front at the same time, hey presto, second bulletproof sun visor. Camera's blown my cover. This is Richard Fiennes going deep, deep undercover working for CNN. Perhaps I'll find Terry Hatcher.
Well, that's it for part 1, but don't go away because right after the break we've got Richard and Elisa's differing views on the 9.5 estate. We'll see you soon.
If you ask people what type of Saab would you buy, they'd say one with jets, wings and guns. But let's face it, you're not going to get finance over 5 years for that, and it's just not practical. So that brings us on to load space, and this, the new 9.5 Aero Estate. Saab claim that it's built with an eye to practicality before image, and I agree. I'd much rather have a ravishing little roadster any day, but give it its due, it seems to be a little bit sporty, with the low chassis, front chin spoiler, contoured side sills and these Wicked Boy Racer 17-inch alloy wheels. So to the important bit now. You just dropped your kids off at school and you're on your way back home for a nice cup of coffee with the girlies. But you need to make a stop off at the supermarket. And the all-important question is, how much can we get in here? I've got my friend here, Gary. Come on, Gary, give us a hand. Let's bring these trolleys round here. Look at this, watch. Lift this up. Hey, out comes your little tray there. Let's stack it up on there then, Gary. Chocolate! I'm not very good at packing, am I, Gary?
No.
Thank you, Gary. You're a star. See ya. The 9.5 Aero has a 2.3 litre turbocharged engine, which can deliver 230 brake horsepower, which is more than enough to get you from the car park to your front drive with a full load. For me, Saab will always be associated with very natural people. The type that spend their Sunday afternoons putting their stuff into recycling bins, like vegans. So needless to say, the 9.5 feels cautious and safe on the road. But put your foot down and you're in for a surprise. From rest to 60 miles per hour, it takes this family estate just 6.5 seconds. That's more than enough to make your Birkenstocks curl. That's down to the Saab overboost function, which gives you more power to accelerate. That's all good and well when you're tearing down the high street for that hair appointment, girls. But what about trying to back this into your drive when it's full of shopping, the kids and Fido? On those long family holidays or even day trips, I think that the Saab will prove to be successful. The sports chassis is rigid enough to cope with all that extra power, and I think it handles the bends rather well. What's more is the manual traction control comes as standard. The only criticism is that over long distances the drive isn't perhaps as involving as a driver may want. That's the long-winded way of saying it's a little bit boring, but whoever said practicality had to be exciting. Inside it's functional, grey and rather boring. The driving position is comfortable though, and the leather seats, well, they're quite nice, but you do have to pay extra for them. The centre console here, well, it's grey and it's dull, but for a few extra quid you could go for that wooden finish. And as you would expect, it's got a great in-car stereo system and more airbags and side impact bars than you can shake a stick at. At a shade under 24,000 for the 2-litre engine version and just under 27,000 for the 2.3 litre, it competes very well against the likes of Volvo and BMW. And they also last a long time, which is probably why they don't evoke much excitement. There are still many old ones on the road today. Now, if I had to choose between the Saab or maybe even one of its competitors, the Volvo, or a Subaru Legacy which has 4x4 and is a little bit cheaper, I still would go for the Saab 9.5. As a family estate, it has a wonderful drive and I think it looks fantastic too. But then I haven't got a family, I'm not practical, and I'd probably go for something a little bit smaller, faster and a lot more fun.
Now that is the kind of Saab that I want. It's got guns, which is a plus, and it's got jets, which is another. Mind you, it probably costs about 500 million quid, which is quite a lot, even on finance. It's ironic that just as Saab's #1 competitor Volvo choose to launch the S80 as a saloon only, there is no estate, Saab make a return to the load-lugging sector after an absence of 20 years with a 9.5 estate. Mind you, I might still get to have a go in the jet version because Saab chose to launch their new estate at RAF Leeming. Saab say that they've designed the car with an eye to practicality before pure image, but despite that, I think it looks fantastic. They're all new pillars from the rear passenger door back, but the sloping C-pillar, well, that's typically Saab. And it also gives the 9.5 quite a sporty, rakish look, which is just as well, because size-wise, the 9.5 estate falls somewhere between the tiny little sporting estates, the one where you have to trade in the Retriever for a Jack Russell to fit the dog in the back, and the full-blown load luggers. There are some nice luxury touches too, but those as well are designed with an eye to practicality first. For instance, these roof rails, they're not an adornment, they are real. They will support a load if you find that the boot space isn't enough. And there are some nice touches in the boot space. Open the tailgate, these red lights at the top are a repeater of the tail lights, which means if you're loading at night and you obscure them, people can see you, you're safer. And these white lights are here to illuminate the whole of the load area, make sure you don't trip over anything or step in a puddle. So, on the road, is the big Swede a turnip? Saab make no wild claims about the 9.5 Estate being a sports car, but they do point out that they spent a lot of time and a lot of effort making it handle as well as a saloon car on the road, and it's time well spent, because it does. It's very poised on the road, it's actually a very pleasurable drive. There's none of the boomy noise that's usually associated with an estate car either, as a result of the big space at the back. It's very well insulated from that. It's available from launch with two engines, the 2-litre and the 2.3. That's 150 and 170 brake horsepower. Both are Saab's light pressure turbos. Very soon it'll be joined by the 3-litre V6, that's an asymmetric twin turbo, and should make it a bit of a stonker. Now, I have said this before, but that's never stopped me from saying anything again, so I shall. Saab, for me, will always be associated with bearded people in goat wool jerseys whose diet means, well, put it this way, you wouldn't want to share a car with them on the school run in the morning. Vegetarians. I'm not being cruel to Saab when I say this, and it's certainly not a reflection on their current range. It's simply that when I was at school, the Saabs I remember from them were all kind of beige, or maybe orange, and blobby in shape. And in updating the childhood memories of the likes of me, Saab do have a bit of a problem in that most of the cars from then are still around today. Building a car that lasts forever can be a bit of a double-edged sword for a manufacturer. It's great to boast about the fact that cars go on for millions of miles, but anybody trying to sell a product whose lifespan is measured in millennia faces a bit of a problem in persuading people to come back and buy another one. That's why British Leyland invented the concept of built-in obsolescence. Sell somebody a car that's good for 40,000 miles, and then sell them another, and another, and another. You'd need carbon dating to pinpoint the original birth date of some of the Saabs still around today. But back to the present. Life is about compromises, ask any American president, and the Saab 9.5 Estate compromises very well. It mixes the better qualities of a sporty estate with the genuine practicality of its more cumbersome competitors. OK, as a drive, it doesn't tear the ground up, but there won't be any skins left on rice puddings, and it does drive much like a saloon. At a shade under £24,000 for the 2-litre engine version and a shade under £27,000 for the 2.3, it competes very well against the likes of Audi, BMW and Volvo, the immediate competitors, on price, as it does on specification. But if you are looking for performance in a small, sporty estate, then I'd say take a look at something like Subaru's Legacy, which is more powerful, it's actually cheaper in some instances, and of course it does have the advantage of that permanent four-wheel drive. But if you really want to go Swedish, then the Saab 9.5 Estate is definitely worth a look.
Now, let me introduce you to two sexy Swedish babes. No, I'm not talking about the two girls from Ace of Base, nor, for those of you who like nostalgia, Agnetha or Anna-Frid from ABBA. So where are these two sexy Swedish babes? Well, they're here. Yes, the latest offerings from Saab and from Volvo. Now, the Saab rather surprisingly has the more chunkier styling than the Volvo. It also has some unique trademarks like the centrally mounted key switch. Of course, they still use turbocharged engines. The Saab is somewhat different from other executive cars. It's almost one out on its own. They also still have this great cockpit design, which they push a lot in their television adverts. You can put a pilot in here, they say, and they wouldn't feel out of place. Everything is neat, close at hand, and easy to use. The radio, the air conditioning controls. Now, both the S80 and the 9.5 are almost identical in exterior size. Interior-wise, though, for me, the Saab 9.5 loses a little bit, particularly for backseat occupants who won't find as much legroom as they do in the S80. Both the Saab and the Volvo are front-wheel drive, whilst its two main rivals, the 5 Series and E-Class, rear-wheel drive. But under normal driving, you'd be really hard-pressed to discover the difference. The Saab is a very relaxing car to drive. Some of its components, I hasten to add, are from the General Motors network, including a Vectra-based suspension. So the 9.5 really impresses quite a lot. One advantage as well, if you need that load carrying capacity, is you can have a 9.5 estate. You can't have an estate at the moment, unfortunately, with the Volvo S80, but does it drive as well as the Saab? The S80's ride is supple and smooth, gliding over all but the worst surfaces. Handling for such a big car is also excellent. This is a 2.4 litre engine in this particular model, 170 brake horsepower. It's rather dull at low speeds, but rev it hard, open it up and push it right the way round to the red line, and you can find yourself having a great deal of fun and making very rapid progress. If I were to take off all the badges from both of these cars and ask you to recognise them, you'd probably spot the 9.5 as being a Saab. Whether you'd spot the S80 as being a Volvo, I'm not so sure, which is testimony to the way that Volvo have come on leaps and bounds. Now, both of these vehicles are worthy enough to join that exclusive club in the executive sector currently dominated by the Germans. The S80 is more a cruiser. It's well built, but in my opinion let down by its driving dynamics. The Saab feels more sure-footed on the road, it handles better, it's more responsive, and has a slightly better interior. So if I had to choose between the two, which is a difficult choice, the 9.5 would be my choice, but only just.
And that's it for another Car File now. I hope you've enjoyed the programme, but on next week's show we're going to concentrate not on one car manufacturer, but on one country, namely Korea. A place that in recent years has come on in leaps and bounds in car technology and production, and are now really turning out some fantastic vehicles. So we shall see you next week.